Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Welcome back to the channel. Hope everyone out there is doing well. Hope you're doing spectacular and that you're all having a great day. Don't forget to leave a like on the video. It is a free and easy way to support the channel. A very big thank you to everyone out there who leaves a comment every single day to help out the algorithm. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. I don't know why this happens, but no. I was gonna say that this maybe happens in other asset classes, but it really doesn't. It seems to be a more crypto native kind of thing. For some reason, there's always a discussion as to if all coins and all projects can kind of exist side by side. The answer is yes, of course. This is how the world works. The other part of it is that apparently the answer is no, because a lot of people within crypto constantly have ranging ideas that Bitcoin must be the only coin. If Bitcoin succeeds, then all other coins will collapse to it. We've heard this a multitude of times. If Bitcoin makes it to 1 million, it's basically game over for every other altcoin, as no one will ever touch them again. If Ethereum has this activated and this happens on the protocol, well, guess what? No one's going to be using Bitcoin anymore, and people will forget how to spell Cardano. If XRP ends up doing this, and we end up hearing that Ripple has secretly this entire time been working with the guy from Disney and got a new hat, well, therefore, XRP is going to be the reigning champion. More than likely, we are going to exist on a planet where all of these things just kind of float side by side. None of them have to be better than the other. It's actually quite childish to have an idea like that, where you just assume that the thing you've invested in is going to be the best thing on the planet. And I truly do mean that. Having been here for a while, I assume that these conversations years ago would have fluttered away, or at some point, we'd kind of understand. We live on a planet with multiple currencies. We're probably going to live on a planet with multiple cryptocurrencies. We live on a planet with multiple countries. We're probably, multiples of things are totally fine. But the last few weeks, because prices recovered, and everyone feels like there's no other way up except for by pushing other people down. There's a multitude of news you've seen about XRP is going to do this. Every other coin will falter. Ethereum is going to $1.5 million a coin. Every other coin will bend the knee. Bitcoin's going to $12 million. This means the end for every other. So I think that's just kind of where we are currently within this cycle. This tends to happen every now and again during a bull market, but it seems to be ramping up as if this is a one person win all everything kind of. I mean, we've also heard that for years from Bitcoin maximalists, but it seems to be seeping into the language of other projects now. It says, in a wide-ranging conversation with someone by the name of Paul Barron, Canary Capital CEO Stephen McClurg laid out a basic three-pronged case for why spot XRP ETFs could debut with stronger demand than their Ethereum counterparts and keep it. This entire idea is now revolving around September and October. I'm sure you've never heard those dates before. This is the time frame that we have received as to when we should be hearing a yes or no for just about 20 different XRP ETFs, like across the board. The interesting part is that for some reason, all of these things just can't coexist and simply do well on their own. There must be a winner because that's how the traditional financial world works. We only have one company. We only have one type of computer, one type of keyboard. You know, we can't have anything else in there. So it's the same thing when we got the Bitcoin ETFs. And the Bitcoin maximalists kept on saying we would never see an altcoin ETF. When we got the Ethereum ETFs, the people from the Ether group came forward and said we would never see any of these other coins get ETFs. They're just not worthy. And now that we're at the point where the SEC is like, sure, come on in. All right, cool. Yeah, you can sit there. You sit to the left. It seems like many coins are going to get them. But once again, people who like XRP tend to really like XRP, and they kind of imagine a world where no other coin exists. His core argument rests on the absence of staking yield. It says cannibalizing ETF demand. XRP's category leadership in traditional financial rails and what he describes as unusually deep community and institutional interest ready to convert into flows the moment approvals land. Hopefully, I assume 5 to 10 of them, I think, would mentally suffice for a number of people within the space. As far as, you know, if we only got 2 approved out of 20, I think people would be a little angry. But if we get 5 to 10, especially from larger players within the space, I think everyone would be generally okay. McClurg's first point is mechanical and immediate. He said Ethereum's native yield is a headwind for its ETFs. He said XRP has no such drag, and I'm going to talk about this in a second because I don't understand English. He said if you're actually a bit more crypto native, you're not going to buy an ETH ETF because you can and get a 2 to 3% yield. He said, noting that investors comfortable with self-custody or on-chain tools can harvest staking rewards that a plain beta ETF does not deliver thus far. I'm going to get back to this in 1 second because it just doesn't really. Okay. By contrast, he says, since XRP doesn't offer a yield of any sort, you're not losing out on anything. Okay. Which in his view removes a key reason for yield-sensitive buyers to bypass the fund wrapper. The way he frames it, Ethereum's best feature for on-chain holders is precisely what limits the appeal of an off-chain ETF, at least until regulators permit staking within the funds. Okay, so mega long story short, this is a very long article. There are a lot of conflicting ideas and not a huge amount of sense in any sense. One of his main arguments is that XRP ETFs will do better than Ethereum ETFs because they don't give you passive income. He assumes that people who are used to self-custodying or have ledgers or whatever the case might be, that won't be a real boundary for them and that they'll simply choose XRP instead. Well, that's not how the real world works. And the reason why we've seen so much institutional interest in Ethereum is because of the ETFs getting staking. People want to be able to if you know that Ether is at 1,000, Ether is at 4,000, Ether is at 9,000. And along that choo-choo train ride, you're continuously getting passive income for doing absolutely nothing. Also, the way that institutions work, that's not, getting money for free is not going to cause people to go, oh, no, I don't want that at all. Wait, 2 to 3%? No, I'm sorry, I can't have that. For those of you who haven't been here a couple of years ago, do you remember Flare and the Flare network? It might sound familiar to you. A couple of years ago, Flare was touted as, I have no idea what happened to Flare. I assume it's still around. I'm not really sure. The Flare network was touted as the place where you would be able to stake your XRP. So similar to how we're talking about like Bitcoin staking now, and it's becoming a bigger thing, and Kraken has Bitcoin staking. I still assume others will raise their percentage per year. But it's kind of that. XRP has had flare, and it caused a lot of, commotion within the space because it was no longer just about holding XRP at 50 cents. It was if XRP goes to $5, you're making passive income. If XRP goes to $10, you're making even more passive income. If XRP goes to $100 in a couple of years, guess what? You've been making money the entire time along the way. I am seeing, and I don't know why this happens. I don't know why people waste their time. I don't know how you can just not understand the basics of what people are doing within this space. People want Ether because it is the most used blockchain coin that we have on the planet. These companies and corporations are buying up all of the Ether because they want the staking rewards. It's very, very simple to actually understand. I've mentioned this a few other times before. There's some kind of a interesting mantra within the XRP space that no matter how well Ripple, the company, does, it's never enough. No matter who they're working with, what banks are working with them, what kind of new corridors they've opened, what kind of partnerships they have with the Japanese banks, what business they're doing in South Korea. There's always some thing within this space where no matter what, people also always have to speculate a step further and just assume that everything that Ripple's telling them is true, but not enough. We need more. Why isn't this happening? And I can assure you without a shadow of a doubt, if we do indeed in September, October, get at least 5 to 10 different XRP ETFs that begin to roll out, there are going to be a massive amount of posts and articles and people talking about, I assume that these 5 were just the beginning. We're probably going to get 75 other secret XRP ETFs. And no matter what this project does, no matter if this coin hits its previous all-time high, there's always some kind of a discussion of we are better than. Maybe it's because I was raised different. I'm happy just being in the room with other winners. I don't have to be at the top of the pyramid. That's not how the world actually works. It's totally fine if XRP ETFs are not as strong as Ethereum ETFs. It's totally fine. If we get them, it means that there's institutional interest. If they are allowed by the SEC, it means that the coin's definitely not a security. It is a commodity. We're going to have tons of money flowing into the space. We're going to get to a $22 XRP. Things will be just fine. This was, as you might have imagined, very popular news. This idea of someone figuring out or finding out or thinking that they figured out a way how this is going to... It's always something. It's always some kind of a thing where, I don't know why people are never satisfied within this space. So, yes, cool. This was very popular news. The idea of XRP ETFs completely crushing and decimating Ethereum ETFs. I'm sure XRP will probably be in third place. We're going at some point to have an $800 billion XRP market cap. It's totally okay if it takes 2 or 3 more years for XRP to get to $38.94.28 and a half. Like it's just... Things don't always have to be one way or the other within this space. It's always this conversation all the time. It's the same exact thing with the flippening. It's always this like, well, when this happens, when that gets activated, when this person says this, it's going to take over that and that's going to replace that. And it's like, no, it's okay. We can all exist together. It's totally fine. You'll make money. I'll make money. They'll make money. We'll all be good. We'll all be just fine, I promise. That's the XRP ETFs could crush Ethereum ETFs because someone is, I don't know. And for those of you who are not paying attention, there will be more staking XRP protocols and people will want to use them. Just, you know, just throwing that out there. Okie dokie. Let's move on. I'm not sure if we were supposed to cheer at this news or what it is. The last decade and a half, 20 years, I'll give it a good 25 years. The UK, for some reason, has terrible economic policies, and for whatever reason, they continue to try and mimic the United States. I don't know if you just saw that new wealth tax that they initiated, and all these rich people are like literally like fleeing from the United Kingdom, moving to Dubai and other jurisdictions where they simply have lower taxes or whatever the actual case might be. So the UK for a while now has been quite unfriendly to crypto. It's not that they needed to be by any means, but if you want people with money to go to your borders, this is typically how you do it. So years ago, the United Kingdom, they were trying to get like crypto advertisements taken away from bus stops and metro stations and on the sides of buses, and you couldn't have them in public. And if anyone under this age saw them, and it was like, okay, you guys are just acting a little bit weird all the time. And then they've been banning multiple things that have to do with crypto. And as I've said thousands of times, it's not that difficult to make money, especially as a country. You give fair and okay tax rates. You make sure that you don't spring anything on anyone, and, people will be just fine. That's how society kind of works. However, this news popped up and people were like, yeah, it's a win. And it's like, no, people have already gone to other places that already have a literal 0% tax rate, or where they've been legally able to do these things before, like Switzerland and Germany and the United States and Canada and Singapore and Hong Kong. And the list also just keeps on going on. The United Kingdom's financial regulator has apparently lifted a ban on crypto exchange traded notes, otherwise ETFs. Call them ETFs. Sure, why not? For retail investors, in a move welcomed by industry leaders as a step toward aligning the UK with global crypto markets as a digital asset hub. That's not going to happen. If you don't know the demographics of the United Kingdom, nearly all of the jobs are basically based in London. I know there are other places, in Birmingham. Yeah, no, I got it. But the main core basically happens within London. London's excessively unaffordable for people who live within the United Kingdom. I have a lot of friends in the UK, and they're all moving. Surprise there. The problem is that all of this stuff had to happen a number of years ago. The only reason why the US gets a pass is because it's the US. It's, you can't have a gigantic economy that begins to open up and then people go, okay, cool. People will still do business within the United States, but other places aren't as... You have bad tax rates. You've made sure that you're unfriendly to cryptocurrency companies. Regulatory-wise, you tried to mimic exactly what Gary Gensler did a number of years ago, but you went several steps further and made sure that it was actually uncomfortable to do business within your borders. So there are a number of crypto companies, especially since 2016, if you know your history, who moved. They moved away. The idea of you now allowing retail investors to have access to ETFs. What year is this exactly? Like what exactly are you talking about? We've had literal crypto ETFs and ETNs and ETPs and 123s in Germany and Switzerland, in France, and a couple of other countries for a few years now. So this news appeared and was supposed to have been like, oh gosh golly me, I'm so happy that I can now do business in a place where I have to upload my ID to use several different websites. That's really fun. On Friday, the UK's Financial Conduct Authority reversed the ban on retail access to ETNs, with regulatory changes taking effect on the 8th of October. The ban was enforced in January 2021, citing extreme volatility and lack of legitimate investment need. I don't have to read anymore. I hate stuff like this. I find it really stupid. Remember, this was a couple of weeks ago. We've had multiple of these as of late. There were 2 other countries who recently also tried to like lift the ban on something or tell people that, oh, no, it's okay. You can use crypto here now. Well, the problem is, Mary, about 3 years ago, you told me it was banned. How do I know that you won't ban it again? You made sure that your tax rates are absolutely deplorable. Nobody wants to do business there. How do I know that you won't change them back again? You know where it has worked out? The places where they said that they were going to give crypto regulation, and then they did it. And then they set crypto taxation rates years ago, and then they did it. And they haven't changed them. And they're very crypto friendly. So, cool. Wonderful. This will probably not work. This is probably a ruse to try and get more people to invest in these things who don't want to invest in them within that country or have already moved. So, yeah, I don't really know what more to say. This was lightly popular news. This idea of, countries opening up. No, there's other places to do business already. There are a bunch of other places where people can do business, and they have, even, don't forget, there are places that have 0% tax on crypto. So who, and they've been already able to deal with ETNs and ETFs. So, well, I think that's going to do it for this video. Hope you've all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope that it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.